Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Growing Happy Babies Birthworkers interview series. In this podcast directory, I make sure that you have the easiest possible time deciding which wonderful birth supporter is right for inviting into your family's journey. All the potential members of your essential prenatal and postpartum village are assembled right here in the Growing Happy Babies directory. Doulas, midwives, prenatal and infant bodyworkers, lactation consultants, and so much more. I'm Adina Kopinski, board-certified lactation consultant and fellow mom. Together, we transition more easily into motherhood. Let's grow some happy babies together. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so happy today to talk with Rachel Reichner, doula, women's health educator, and writer. She lives up north and serves as a doula for women in northern Israel, right around the Kiryat Timon area. And Rachel, hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's really fun to be here.
It's my pleasure also because we're actually old friends. And also, Rachel, can you tell us and everyone listening how you got into this field and what inspired you to become a doula?
Yeah. So I have a bit of an unorthodox beginning in doulahood. I've been a doula since I was 16 years old. I always knew that I wanted to work with women and like be there empowering them. And I didn't know 100% if it was going to be a doula or a midwife, but the midwives that I knew were like, start with being a doula and see what happens. So it was always kind of like in the back of my mind. And actually when I was homeschooled, and when I was 16, my father passed away and I was with him during that time. And I really felt that like death and birth are revolving doors. And it was like very clear to me. And I was like, okay, if I've done the death part, I'm like definitely ready to try the birth. And within that, like that same year, I did a doula course, and I actually attend my first birth was in the same hospital that my father passed away in just a few months later. So I've been a doula since I was 16, which is like a really, really long time at this point. And I've definitely fall in love with it, with being able to help women in that way and show up for them.
Wow, that's very touching story. Very, I don't know what's the word, like poetic, that you had
Yeah,
these.
as writers, we feel that.
Yeah, the full circleness. Wow, a lot of emotions to hold at that age and beyond.
Yeah, but I do think that it's given me a lot of skills, like because there is that moment in birth where you feel like you can't do it anymore, and it's like the moment where everything is breaking, and that's when you know that the birth is happening. And I definitely feel like I can hold it and just be there in it, without forcing it or changing it or feeling uncomfortable by it.
Yeah. Well, that's a really important skill. Can you tell us more about, we could say skills or what sets you apart or what makes you, Rachel, the doula, unique from every other doula in the world?
Yeah, so I also am like going back to where I started because I'm really grateful. I grew up in Berkeley, California, and my first exposure, like when I was little, I didn't know people who gave birth in the hospital. Everybody I knew gave birth at home. And I think that, and when I first became a doula, also like I attended a lot of home births, and I learned with home birth midwives. And I feel like that gave me the opportunity to experience and witness physiological natural birth. Like I feel like birth in its natural habitat. And I really feel like it changed the way I experience birth, and it's something that like I am always keeping that in mind, how powerful women are and how they know how to give birth. Like there's no question in my mind about that. And so wherever a birthing woman chooses to have her baby, I feel like I bring like that, like I almost want to say like a deep belief, and that definitely radiates and I think resonates with women. Another thing that I would say is like that sets me apart. Like one, doulas are always learning, whether it's like I've done so many courses, and whether it's homeopathy for birth or reflexology or traditional Native American herbs for birth. And I recently completed a course it's called the Body Ready method, which is all about physiological alignment, which is an amazing, it was a really, really awesome course.
I love that.
So I yeah, it's so important. So I bring all that with me, but I think the other thing is that in my own personal birthing experiences, experienced some really crazy, challenging births, and I feel like that has given me definitely like a window into helping women experience what I call tikkun birth, and especially for VBACs. Like I'm a VBAC myself, and many of my clients I feel like come to me and I get it. I get it on every single level, and I know how important that experience is for them to be able to experience a tikkun birth, and if they're going for a VBAC or whatever better or different experience. And I think that's kind of what sets me apart is like I'm not just an advocate, but it's like I've been there with them and we're experiencing it again.
Yeah, it's really important for a woman to feel that she has that deeply empathic support.
Yeah, it's like radical empathy.
Yes. Yeah, that's really important in birth when we are at our most vulnerable, that we need to be the most seen.
Yeah, 100%. And not always in the birthing, like in the birthing situations, do they feel totally seen, especially if you're meeting like a doctor or a midwife that's never met you before. And so they don't know everything, like they don't know that all that back history and how much is riding on that moment. And so I feel like when you choose a doula who really resonates with you and sees you, it can change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a story about one of the births you've attended and supported?
Yeah. So one of the stories that is very close to my heart, a woman came to me, a young woman, and she was, I would say, like 2 years postpartum, like from her first birth, and she had had like a really, really challenging first birth. It was almost 2 days long, and it was like the pushing was a huge issue, and there was really challenging tearing, and it was like really she came with me with like a lot of trauma there. And in our like birth education meetings, we really tried to work through it together. And one of the things that kept coming up for her was that like she about the pushing, she was like, I don't think I can push. Like my body doesn't know how to push. And she had said that the midwives had told her then that she didn't know how to push. And it was like that sentence just like kept reverberating for her. And so we did a lot of work around it. Fast forward to the actual birth. It went all of a sudden things were moving so fast. I was talking to her on the phone and she was planning to go to a further hospital that was closer to her family. And I got in the car and I started talking to her and I was like, "You're not going to make it to that hospital. I need you to I need you to reconsider everything and go to the closest hospital." And I met her there in the Kabbalah. And I saw her, we started talking, and I was like, I reminded her, I'm like, you can do this. It doesn't, you have everything you need. Everything is going to happen just as it needs to be. And they checked her and they're like, "Oh, you're 6 centimeters." And she had said that she was thinking about getting an epidural. And so she was like, "Okay, I think I'm gonna get one." And then she looked at me and all of a sudden there was a really, really strong contraction and her waters broke. And the midwife was still, like asking her name and filling everything out. And then all of a sudden she turned to me and she's like, "I think the head is coming out." And I was like, "Ah." The baby came out within like 2 minutes. It was like the easiest pushing I've ever seen. And it was right after she was like, "Oh my gosh, I pushed that baby out. I did it." And like she was so elated and it was amazing. It was amazing to see her go from like the months before of like how she was so worried about it, how she felt like she didn't have it and she couldn't do it to like within 5 minutes everything changed. So that was a really exciting moment. And we did, I mean, during it, like there was one moment as the head was coming out, she turned to me, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." And I was like, you know exactly what to do, and we're just gonna breathe through it. And that's what we did. And like within seconds, the baby was here. So whenever I think about it, I just feel so grateful to have been able to be there with her for that.
Wow, what a reparative birth.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, and also being mindful as, you know, I don't know if anyone listening today is like a hospital midwife, but be mindful of the messages you give people because they will stick. Like you don't know
Yeah.
how to push, that's pretty shocking.
Yeah, and that sentence went for like
Shaming.
for 2 years. She was like, it was just like, all day long in her head, that was something that she was remembering.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, what a damaging mantra.
Yeah, but also what a huge tikkun when she was like, "I pushed that baby out and I did it and it was amazing."
Yeah,
So,
she's a new person now. She's
totally.
and she can believe in her body. That's important for every moment of life beyond birth.
Yeah, and she was also really concerned about having a really long birth. Like her first birth, like I said, had been so long, and this was like within 3 hours from start to finish. And
Wow.
so keeping that in mind that there's like your body is so dynamic and everything is constantly changing. Like one birth doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be for your other births.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's a piece of advice you could give a pregnant woman about what is about to come down her road?
I think I'd want to remind her that like she's the one in the driver's seat. You know, she's making all the choices about her body. Um, and one of the really important things that I've noticed in Israel is like it's really important to go and check out your place of birth, whether it's a hospital, a birthing center, whatever it is. Like I want the woman to go there to like feel it, experience it, and decide if she wants to be there. That's like one thing because I've had women be like, "Oh, I for sure want to give birth at this hospital." They go there and they're like, "No, not there," and they go to a different place and they're like, "Yeah, this is it. This is the place." So that's like one thing, and also another, just like this is like more during birth, but sometimes, especially I feel like in our Israeli culture, everything is like super fast and super intense. To remember that, like, oh, I always tell the birthing woman and her partner that they can say like no matter what the doctors or the midwives want to happen, they can be like, I just need 2 minutes to think about it. Because
Mm.
sometimes it'll like the doctor will walk in, okay, we need to do this, and they're like, okay, so that's okay, right? And when the client's like, wait, I just need 2 minutes to think about it, that's a moment where they can return the power to themselves, talk it over with their partner, decide what course of action they want to take. But just like remembering that they are the one that they're the ones making the decisions.
I just need 2 minutes to think about it. Did everyone hear that? Write it down.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
No, and we use it all the time. We use it all the time. And then like the doctor, the midwife walks out for 2 minutes, they come back and it's a totally different situation.
Yes. Wow.
Um,
Talk about
and
reclaiming.
one other really small piece of advice that I feel like is really important. People don't always talk about the first bowel movement after birth. And a lot of women experience immense difficulty with it, especially like if they were pushing or even if they went through a cesarean section, there's like all this stress about adding any other pressure there. So I really, really suggest to my clients, and so I feel like all birthing women, to bring Normalax or Miralax with them, and right after birth to start drinking it. And it works differently than like the other laxatives. It works that it just sends the water that like all the water that you're drinking, it sends it to that area of your body, making making your experience much smoother and you don't have to push. And I feel like women have it's totally different. Women who gave birth, but like who after were like, okay, they like were pushing and they were really worried. And then when they take the Miralax starting right after birth, yeah, they've just said it's made a huge difference. And also the hospitals in Israel, they don't want you to go home until you've had a bowel movement. Um, so that's a big deal. So I'm like, let's make it as easy and positive as possible.
Yeah, it's great advice also. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. And I hope that anyone listening just feels like they got something really tangible right now just from listening to you.
Great. Thank you, Adina.
Friends, check out the full directory for every interview we've done up until now, housed at my website, growinghappybabies.com. But before you go, I've got one question. Are you the kind of person who learns better by listening or by doing? In my 2-part online prenatal breastfeeding class, the Pocket Prenatal, I blend the basics of breastfeeding with practical hands-on skills. Choose to watch the videos on your computer or phone, read through the transcripts, or pop in an earbud, take a walk, and listen to the audio-only podcast version. After you've dived into the what's and whys of breastfeeding, join part 2, our live hands-on class, where we roll up our sleeves and practice the how of breastfeeding. Experience hand expression, learn how to size yourself for better pumping, practice bottle feeding techniques that improve your baby's sucking skills, and use easy bodywork exercises to help your baby's comfort, sleep, and digestion. You're going to walk out of this class with an essential toolkit for navigating early motherhood. This is the class every baby needs their mother to take. Go to thepocketprenatal.com and use your listener code, Growing Happy Babies, for a special 10% discount. See you there.